Yeah, obviously excited to get started. Year 5 for me. Football team 135 for the University of Missouri. So we have a lot of things to get done over the course of the next 17 fall camp practices and 25 before our first game. I've got a couple of things to announce. With the recent changes in the NCAA rules, I have a few staff adjustments that will allow us to operate more efficiently and I think put us in a better position to be successful and maximize the talents and abilities of our coaching staff. First, Coach Link is going to go back to what he did the first 2 years, which will be a full focus on special teams. Him and Brock Oliva will be special teams coordinators and assistant special teams. Coach Link will still serve as an offensive assistant, but his primary responsibilities will be on the special teams organization. Durham Cato will be promoted to the day-to-day tight ends coach, and you'll get a chance to visit with him today. Other notable adjustments on the offensive side of the ball: Sean Gleason, who joined our staff this past summer, will be as offensive assistant, and he'll work with the quarterbacks. Jack Abercrombie has been promoted to assistant offensive line coach. On the defensive side of the ball, defensive assistant Jacob Euro will work with the safeties and Coach Batoon to allow Coach Batoon more freedom to walk around as a walk-around defensive coordinator. Chris Ball, who we hired, former head coach at NIU, will be a defensive assistant with the linebackers. David Blackwell will be a defensive assistant with the defensive tackles. That will allow Al Davis to be the defensive line coach. Nothing will change in the way that we operate on a day-to-day basis. David's been helping with that room. And then Brian Hamilton, we hired recently, will be a defensive assistant. So, again, it helps us to maximize everybody's role and be better suited to take advantage of the coaches that we have on staff. From a player update, Chris Cray and Isaac Thompson will be medically redshirting. Their injuries were just too significant for them to continue and play football at the highest levels. Those guys both have been with us throughout the summer and will continue to help our football team in coaching roles throughout this year. And I think that's really all I got. I'll open it up for questions now.
Eli, these first few days of fall camp, what do you expect to see from this team? What's a big emphasis maybe in week one they're seeing here?
Yeah, we have 3 goals when we talk about fall camp. Number 1, we want it to be hard. Proverbs 24:10, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. So we want to create adversity in fall camp. That's why we move into the residence halls for the first week, so that we force these guys into a mindset of it's just about football and eliminate distractions. Number 2 is embrace their role. Everybody's going to have a role on this football team that helps us win and lose football games, and we need everybody to embrace that role. Not everybody's going to be the star, not everybody's going to be a starter, but everybody has a role in order to help us win. And then the last one is develop a unity among the team, just us mentality. And so that's really the focus. Whether you're talking about day 1 or day 17, it's trying to accomplish those goals. We will be very smart in how we start. We always start in the red zone to try to get our players acclimated to fall camp and try to get them, keep them as safe and as healthy as possible as we build up and prepare for week 1 versus Murray State.
Coach, how does this fall camp, how can you compare it to your previous 4 fall camps as far as, changes, excitement going around the program? How do you kind of look at it from year to year?
Yeah, each one's been a little bit different. Obviously, the first one was COVID, and so fall camp seemed like it went from like July 13th until the middle of September when we played. So they've all been a little bit different and unique based off of different coaches, different players. This one's uniquely its own just because of the opportunities that lie ahead of us within our football team. The amount of returning starters that we have, the amount of experience that this team has. So I think the biggest challenge for us is in the past we had to ignore the noise and the naysayers. Now we've kind of got to ignore the noise and the praise givers and focus on just what we need to do, which is try to be the very best we can today and then build on that tomorrow.
Eli, kind of big picture, compared to previous years, how does the existence of the expanded playoff change anything around here, whether it's mentality or just, I'm curious your answer.
Yeah, from day one, our goal is to compete for the SEC and play for championships, and that really hasn't changed at all. So whether or not the playoffs are expanded or not, our goal to start the season is, chase two dreams, develop an elite edge, and play for championships. And play for championships starts with playing for an SEC championship and then to a national championship if you're worthy to do that, and then the Mayor's Cup and the Battle Line Trophy. So, those are our championship opportunities that are ahead of us, and we're working to prepare for those.
So from a messaging standpoint, do you talk about the playoff in that? I mean, it's not like necessarily being one of the 12 isn't necessarily winning a championship. It's earning this amazing berth into something.
It's earning an opportunity to play for a championship. So messaging won't change. We know what our goals are, and there's a lot of things that you have to do in order to compete and play in the playoffs. So let's not put the cart too far in front of the horse, so to speak. That's okay.
Brady Cook's entering his last season as a Tiger, and he seems to have more support from the fan base than ever this season. There are other seasons where he didn't have as much support. So I'm curious, as observing him growing into his last season, how do you expect the growth that he received from this to affect him as a leader this season?
It hasn't affected him as a leader. I think he's been very consistent in how he's put in the work, shown his commitment to the team, been committed to working to improve. So I don't sense that there's any type of adjustment from a leadership standpoint. We're all susceptible to complacency or falling into that praise and blame trap. He didn't let the blame get to him, and my anticipation is that he won't let the praise get to him too. But I'm constantly hammering him with, we don't need a celebrity quarterback, we need a battlefield commander. And so, I think Coach Moore and Coach Gleason and myself will do a good job of monitoring that. I haven't seen any symptoms of that, but that is something that we'll be monitoring.
On that goal of developing unity that you talk about and that just us mentality.
Yep.
You guys talked a lot about last year how fall camp was so important to really creating that something to prove mindset. What do you think went right last year, and how do you kind of replicate that even though every team is different?
Yeah, I think you have the same processes in place as far as how you develop a team. Moving into the residence halls, setting up a practice structure. The reality of it, it's just whether or not our players buy into that process of being vulnerable in Tiger Olympics and in unity groups, being able to spend the time necessary to build bonds. There's no microwave to it. There's no, exact formula. It's going to be uniquely this group's challenge to form those bonds by spending time together, by handling and facing adversity, and having fun.
There's no replacing a guy like Cody Schrader, both the kind of leader he was, but also what he was able to do on the field. What are you looking for in fall camp to see some of these guys stepping up maybe into that role of what a Cody Schrader meant to this team last year?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. From a talent standpoint, there's a lot of players who have talent very similar to what Cody had and possessed, but for this team, it was the leadership components that he had. It was the toughness that he displayed. It was the commitment that he's displayed to the team on a daily basis to put himself second, put the team first. And whether that was his body, whether that was the way he prepared, those are the things that we've got to find. And we've got to figure out who's going to carry that flag for our football team that on a day-to-day basis says, I'm going to perform at my God-given ability regardless of the circumstances, regardless how I feel. I'm going to put my needs behind the needs of the team. I'm going to support the coaches and the coaches' decisions with everything I have. I'm going to make sure that I'm constantly putting myself in the best position possible so that I can contribute to the team. And Cody was unique. There's just not been a lot of people who've done that in the course of careers. He did it to the best that I've ever been around, and now we need somebody in that room to choose those same characteristics in order for us to find that success.
We talk about blocking out the praise and obviously the high expectations going into this year. Obviously last year the motto is something to prove. Do you feel like that's kind of molded in a different way this year? Do you kind of feel that same motto? Does it just feel a little bit different?
No, I think we still have a lot to prove. And sometimes we get caught in trying to chase the next motto or whatever. Sometimes mottos just kind of fit. And for us, we just something to prove 24. We all still have a lot to prove, whether that's to the outside people or to the group within, the Joseph Charlestons, the Mookie Coopers, the Theo Weises that chose to come back, the Christian Williams that said, I want to give one more year, maybe to the Marcus Carrolls, the Nate Noels, the Zion Youngs, the Darius Smith, the Champ Flags who chose to be a part of our team. We need to prove that that was the right decision for them.
Coach, with Brady, what do you need him to be on the field as a quarterback for this team to go where you want it to go?
Yeah, we need him to continue to be consistent ball distributor. One of the reasons for our success offensively was the lack of turnovers. And we got to continue that. Obviously, we're going to need him to be a tough physical runner. That's what he's always been, whether it was his first touchdown versus Army in his first start, or whether it was in Ohio State to start the fourth quarter on that big run to put us in the red zone. He's always been a tough runner. And we've got to continue to increase our deep ball accuracy, explosive plays, and then into game, quarterback, when the ball's in his hands, he's got to finish the game.
And with the offensive line, I know you said offense about getting the best combination of 5 guys. First, how open is that competition entering camp, and what do you expect that process to look like over the next few weeks?
It's wide open. Our number one core value is always compete, and that's whether you're a returning starter or whether you're a transfer. Whoever's coming in to be the best 5 and the most consistent is going to be the starters. And I feel like, Mitch Walters, Logan Reichert, Javen Richardson, Marcus Bryant, Caden Green, Tristan Wilson, all these guys have put in the right amount of work and the right amount of time to give themselves the ability to compete for the job. And whoever it is, it's kind of like I told the team last year, we're not coming in with preconceived ideas. Whatever the results of the competition are, the results of the competition.
Coach, you mentioned there are steps before talking about the expanded college football playoff, but the reality is the SEC is also expanded. Just your excitement to go into a now 16-team SEC with the inclusion of Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah, excited. Just add 2 championship teams to the SEC and see what happens. So, no, obviously it's a good thing for our conference, but it requires everybody to raise their level. That's what competition does. Everybody's got to be better than they were last year, and obviously we're adding one of those teams to our schedule. And I think they were a 10-win team last year, and so obviously you've got to everybody from recruiting to facilities to on the field plays got to increase their level in order to compete.
Coach, if you can follow me on this one.
Okay, it's going a few places.
Carl Reed is now doing media stuff, and he gave that quote that said, you told him, don't let the glasses fool you, I'm a dog.
I don't know if I said that, but
Oh.
I've used the term "don't let glasses fool you," but I don't know if I've ever referred to myself as a dog before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that changes the question from my end. I guess
Carl may have taken some in quotes some liberties.
Yeah, I don't think he
in
went
quotes.
to journalism school here.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess the question was like, what is it in all seriousness? What does it mean to be a dog? And I know whether you're not one or you are one.
Nah, I'm not
a lot
one.
of the players, of course.
Yeah, they are.
I remember a great quote about Luther Burns. He's a dog. What does that mean to an old guy
Yeah.
like me?
There's so many different things in the English language and the culture of how people talk. The other day one of the guys said bet to me, and I was like, on what? And apparently it's not exactly it. So you got a lot of that. When I think of dog, I think of a competitor. I think of an elite competitor. I think of somebody who shows up every day, puts it, I think of Michael Jordan when his best was needed. He was always at his best. I think of Kobe Bryant. I think of Derek Jeter. I think of Barry Bonds. I think of Peyton Manning. I think of Nick Bolton. I think of Cam Newton. These guys that when the game was on the line, you knew that they were going to perform at their highest levels, and they were consistent in their preparation. So in my mind, it's a competitor. It's somebody whose mindset was different than everybody else, and it just wasn't about their natural talent. It was also about the mindset and the toughness that they brought to the game. So, yeah, I think that might be it.
Can a coach or coaches, I'm not trying to be funny with this, grow a dog? Can a guy show up and you're like, I don't know, and by the time he's a junior or senior, be like, we've developed him into a dog? And whether it's not a dog or anything, it's the mentality of being a killer, being a guy that wants to go out and dominate, like you said, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I think there's always, we're a developmental program, so you want to develop every aspect of the player, whether that's develop him in the academics, develop him spiritually, develop him emotionally, develop him on the field. We talk about having an elite edge mindset. That is all about developing how we approach a day-to-day basis, whether that's energy, details, grit, emotional consistency. So I absolutely believe that you can develop a player. Yep.
Cool. Coach, the first year with Kirby Moore, I'm sure everything is about familiarity and you getting on the same page, all the coaches getting on the same page when it comes to the same with the players. In year two with him,
I think we had to get him on the same page of us, but I'm just kidding.
what's different this year, and how can you guys take
He's
the
now
offense-
getting us on the same page with him.
How do you guys take this offense to the next level in year two with him?
Obviously, I think Kirby did an outstanding job. We're not the Cotton Bowl champs without Kirby and his ability to recreate our offensive identity and handle all the different challenges that were thrown at him throughout the year, and thought he did just an excellent job of morphing, the staff and the players to buy into what we were doing. For us, it's not about how good we are, it's how good can we be. And that really starts tomorrow with our first practice. And everybody has a unique talent, but individual talent is not going to be enough for us to be successful offensively. We're going to have to really focus on our fundamentals and improve fundamentally. We're going to have to figure out who our front five are so that we can work together. We're going to have to figure out, what is the rotation of wide receivers and how consistent we can be throwing the football and protecting the quarterback. So there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of potential, but there's a lot of work to do before we know how good we can be.
Along with replacing Cody Schrader as a leader, you need to replace a lot of offensive production, especially on the ground. How are you approaching the running backs in this fall camp, and what do you need to see from each guy to have confidence going into the season?
Yeah, it's an open competition full of talented players to display what they can do. Being a running back for us starts first with protecting the quarterback and demonstrating an ability to pick up blitzes. And then number two, it starts with ball security. The ability that when you touch the ball, you're going to protect it. And that really is what we need to see. And then after that, I think we need to figure out who is going to be an identity guy for us, meaning who's going to have the identity of toughness and consistency.
Coach, were you surprised to see just one all-conference, a preseason all-conference player a couple weeks ago, and have you already sort of used that as a motivational tool for the guys?
Yeah, if you say ignore the noise when it's positive, you also got to say ignore the noise when it's negative. We currently don't have an SID, so I just blame it on that.
Coach, not to take us through your whole roster, but obviously in St. Louis, we loved the trio on the offensive end last year. Just curious, the next phase of St. Louis products, maybe Brett Norfleet, Marvin Brooks Jr., what you've seen from them on the offensive and defensive end.
Yeah, I think for us, obviously last year was a special year with the guys from St. Louis contributing at a high level, but we've been able to recruit very consistently from that area, and there's other guys that are going to have the opportunities. Obviously, Brett had a fantastic year last year as a true freshman, and I even think Marvin did some outstanding things. Look for him to compete at the safety position, be a guy who competes on 4-core special teams. Come on in. But we're also looking for guys like Marquise Graciel, Jamal Roberts, guys, Jamarian Wayne, guys who haven't quite, Jamarian did a lot of really good stuff for us last year on special teams, and now it's just another opportunity for him to compete and try to earn a bigger role. I think Marquise is going to have to step up for us in that defensive tackle position. We know he has the talent to do that. It's just about the consistency every day. Jamal Roberts has been a guy who, really flashed for us in fall camp last year, and now it's his opportunity to compete again for that job, but also expand his role and see if he can't play on some special teams and really find ways for us to win. Excited to get Toriano Pride Jr. back, a transfer who's a guy that we really recruited hard as a freshman and didn't quite get it done, but now he's got an opportunity to compete. Nick DeLoach is a guy from Cahokia who was under-recruited in our opinion and really had an outstanding spring and did a tremendous job in the weight room and has got an opportunity to compete for a starting position there. So, all those guys from that region, I think one of the things that we did early was we took a lot of St. Louis guys. Now I think we're doing a really good job of taking the right St. Louis guys and getting the right guys who fit us and fit our program.
Coach, how do you approach a guy like Willings Winery who's coming in with a lot of hype as he's going through his first few practices?
Yeah, I just need him to make sure his shoes are tied and he's taped up, ready to go. Everything else will take care of himself. He's plenty talented enough. The key for us is to not put too many expectations on him. Just let him learn the standards of how we operate on a day-to-day basis, and when it's his opportunity, he'll take advantage of it. The good news is for him, he doesn't have to feel any pressure like okay. He doesn't have to feel any pressure about like he's got to come in right now and save the day. Like we've got a lot of really good players at the defensive end position, and now he can just come in and get up to speed as quick as possible and then use his natural giftings and abilities. Can somebody put a sign up or stand outside so that we don't have this happen 4 more times?
Hey, Coach, yesterday, St. Louis Cardinals manager made a good point about young players. He was talking about how they have to, since they're on social media, they have to navigate social media and fans and everybody coming at them. Everybody on your team is, quote, young, college age. What is it like in 2024 with athletes having access to fans and vice versa all the time, 24/7?
I mean, I think that's probably the most challenging part of our sport, especially when the way that you make money is through your name, image, and likeness. So you need to be building a personal brand, but also understanding that you don't have to be defined by the opinions of others. It's something that you got to work really hard to do. You got to work really hard to separate yourself from your phone and figure out who you are as a person and understand that social media is both positive and negative, and you can't get caught up in either one of them. You can use it for a tool, but don't use it for an identity.
What has Blake Craig shown you to give you confidence with the change of that position?
I thought he was very consistent for us in the spring, but we're not going to know anything about that competition until we put the pressure on him, and he's going to have to make some kicks. So we'll see. A lot left to be proven there.
For 1 or 2 more guys. The jump Luther Burden made from year 1 to year 2 was obviously sizable. What do you see from him coming into this year, even maturing as a player and even as a person?
I think the maturity from Luther, more than the statistical maturity, was, his first year after a game where he didn't have as many catches as he liked. We took all our stuff off of social media and, created a story about that, and then fast forward to a year after the Tennessee and Arkansas games when the conversation comes about Cody Schrader. Luther Burden's his biggest cheerleader, and to me that's the biggest growth, is a great player who's very gifted and can change the game, but he's more concerned about the team and the team winning and how he can positively affect the team. Yesterday he held a camp back in East St. Louis for 350 kids, was totally free to give back to his community. He's a young man who's really matured into understanding it's bigger than him, and if he'll use his platform in a positive way, good things will happen for him.
Coach, what did last year do for you personally as a coach who's been coaching for quite some time? To win a Cotton Bowl, 11-2 record, what does that success do for you as a coach who's been in the game?
Me personally, didn't really change much for me. We've been around winning a lot, been blessed to be around a lot of winning programs. I think more than anything just was a reaffirmation that our process works, that our core values work, that the things that we believed in, we had an unwavering belief and faith that it was going to work here. It's just a matter of putting that and getting that results. I think the coolest thing was the opportunities that it provided the players that were here and some of the coaches, whether that was the ability to elevate some of the coaches, the ability for some coaches to be able to go pursue their dreams elsewhere, the ability for our players to be unanimous All-Americans, the ability for us to have the most players from Mizzou history in the combine, to have D-Rob be drafted in the first round. In order for all of that to happen, we needed to have a certain level of success and achievement. And, I always believed, and I think we always believed it could happen, but for it to happen, I think it really wasn't about me and really didn't do anything for me. It was more about what it did for everybody else.
We talked about the need to improve on red zone efficiency. What does the process of kind of implementing that in these practices and meetings over the next few weeks look like, and who are some key guys you think can help in that area?
Yeah, you get what you emphasize, you encourage what you tolerate, and so obviously we needed to emphasize the red zone. We're starting in the red zone, which is for their player safety, but also for us as a mentality and for our coaches that we've prepared. We spent the better part of 6 weeks really refining what this install and what are the plays that we wanted to get specifically repped. We're going to do a little less scripting and more calling it. So even tomorrow, first and goal from the 10, play it out, no scripts. Both sides of the ball just have to call and react to those calls. I thought Coach Moore did a really good study on, red zone plays, what was effective both NFL and college, what are some things that we could potentially add. But the biggest area of growth for us has got to be third and goal calls. That was where we struggled the most in the red zone, was third and goal. So, how do we get better at those?
Got time for one more if anyone's got one.
Coach, your wide receiver group as a whole pretty much all comes back. You talked about how big, what's their ceiling, how big would they be for you guys' success?
I challenged Coach Peeler and for him to challenge the wide receiver room. Very talented, as skilled as any group I've ever seen from 1 through 11. But the challenge for them is to be uncommonly unselfish. Wide receivers tend to be, want the game to be played through them. Can we be uncommonly unselfish and celebrate the group's success or the team's success? And whether I'm getting the ball or whether or not I'm featured, is that going to affect, the energy that I play with, or will I be as excited if I throw the block that ends up springing a touchdown, or if I run the route that creates a double team that allows somebody else to be open? That to me is going to be the biggest challenge. Theo Weiss is an incredible wide receiver, one of the best deep ball catch guys that I've seen. 50-50 balls. He has a tremendous knack of coming down with. Mookie Cooper's consistent, dynamic with a ball in his hand. Luther Burden. We obviously know about Mekhi Miller. Clutch. Miller time, third downs. Marquise Johnson, a guy who's got elite speed. Josh Manning, spring game MVP. Had one of the best off seasons of anybody from any metric standpoint that we had. You got Courtney Crutchfield coming in. You got James Madison coming in. You got Daniel Blood, who had a big-time third down catch versus LSU last year. You got Logan Muckey, who plays on multiple special teams. You got Noah Flaskamp, who's been consistent. So a lot of talent, but can we be uncommonly unselfish in that it's bigger than just my own personal goals? It's really about what this team can accomplish.